Alex, Celtic versus Aberdeen, sorry. Great advertisement for Scottish football. What did you make of that game?
Chaotic, probably the best way to describe it. An absolute mad game. Obviously, you have to give a lot of credit to Aberdeen, who showed great fighting spirit to come back after being behind to force extra time, and then the penalty shootout as well. That was a bit mad as well, with Joe Hart having the chance to win it for Celtic, and then he hit the post with his spot kick before he eventually went on to save the spot kick and earn Celtic's place in that final as well. But look, Aberdeen's form in the league has been disastrous, so I don't think many people expected them to push Celtic as far as they did. So I think you have to give a lot of credit to Aberdeen, and the interim manager Peter Levin seemed to get a tune out of them right there, and they made the hard work for Celtic to try and get through to that final as well. I think Brendan Rodgers, I think he was just relieved to get through. He wasn't probably overly happy with his own side's performance. They were behind after just 2 minutes, so they're always playing catch up then, and they got themselves in front and then to concede in injury time in the 90 minutes, and then also in extra time as well to force penalties. A few question marks around his side's defending, but at the end of it, they're through to the final, and it's another chance for Celtic to add another trophy, and they'll be facing their old firm rivals Rangers in the final, the first one I think since 2001. So it's going to be a huge occasion at Hampden Park, and unfortunately for any fans who wanted to watch both cup finals this season, they're both kicking off at the same time. The FA Cup final in England and the Scottish FA Cup kicking off at 3:00 as well. So I think that's a bit of an own goal probably by the Scottish FA to have that kicking off at the same time as well. But that's the decision made.
Paul, Brendan Rodgers sort of doubled down and has kind of said that the team come alive at the end of the season when it matters, that they always prove that they are champions. Do you think they are gathering more momentum now than Rangers, and say for the league and then the cup as well? Who do you think is in better stead as we get towards the end of the season?
Well, Celtic in better stead without a doubt. I mean, Rangers have won one win in the last 5 games. Managers come under a little bit of criticism from the fans for the first time. The loss at Ross County, the draw at Dundee, the infamous Dundee game that kept getting rearranged. They're not in great form at the moment, but like you say, they got through the semi-final against Hearts to create that old firm final. But for me, you look where Celtic are at the moment, 3 points clear with 5 to go. They're playing against Dundee this weekend, and Dundee's last win against Celtic at Dens Park was in 1988, and they've beaten them 7-1 this season already. So you would fancy Celtic to get 3 more points on the board this weekend, and it would put them in pole position, obviously in the league, and then carrying that form into the cup. But Rangers they've been a different proposition, haven't they, since Philip Clement's come in? They have been a different team, and they've given themselves every opportunity. It's certainly going to be an interesting run-in, one that we've not had for a while.
Pete, in terms of Greg Taylor, one name to mention going into the final year of his contract, some have said that talks have stalled until the season ends. Are we expecting him to extend his time at Celtic Park? Or actually, is there a chance they might try and move him on in the summer or let him go the following summer?
Yeah, I think Celtic probably, he's been a decent servant to the club. I think at left back, I think he's got good experience. I'm sure Celtic will sit down and discuss with him in the summer if they can sort out a new contract. I do think fullback is an area of the team that Brendan Rodgers would like to strengthen as well. They had the young Argentine Bernabia, who's obviously gone out on loan to Internacional in Brazil. So he seems like he's got an uncertain future at Celtic. So that would leave Greg Taylor with no real cover at left back. So I think Brendan Rodgers ideally would like to bring in another left back in this summer transfer window if the finances are there to do it. So yeah, I think Greg Taylor, I think he's done more than enough to warrant a new contract. So I would imagine there should be a willingness on both parties to get a new deal agreed.
And is there any other key transfer news going into the summer, Pete?
Obviously, the key for Celtic, I think, is goalkeeper. We all know Joe Hart is retiring, so they're going to have to bring a replacement in for him. His understudies at Celtic right now aren't of the level, I think, to become number one. So I think it's going to be a key priority signing that Brendan Rodgers is going to have to make. We did a story earlier this week that they were looking at the Austrian goalkeeper Pentz, who's on loan at Brøndby from Bayer Leverkusen. He's somebody who's on Celtic's radar. He's the modern day goalkeeper, very good with the ball at his feet, with his distribution as well, and obviously playing as a sweeper keeper as well. He's got 1 year left on his contract at Leverkusen, so he's somebody that the Celtic recruitment staff are looking at right now as well. There will be other clubs looking at him also, but yeah, I think getting that goalkeeper position, as Paul will know, massive for the team going forward. You need a solid, reliable number one if you are to sort of continue challenging for trophies, and obviously Celtic themselves will be in the Champions League next season as well. So getting the top quality number one in is something that Brendan Rodgers is desperate to do. And I also think no real criticism of Joe Hart. He's maybe not the type of goalkeeper that Brendan Rodgers typically likes. He likes somebody who is comfortable on the ball and can maybe create attacks and everything else, but with his distribution as well. But yeah, it's going to be big gloves to fill, shall we say, Joe Hart.
And Paul, in terms of the sort of the double, as fans have been referring to it, winning both the league and the cup, do you think it is still alive? Is there a chance that they do it? Or actually going into that final, whoever then loses the league, do you think actually at that point they are in the driving seat to go on and win that trophy?
No, listen, the Old Firm games are special, aren't they? And when Pete said then about the final kicking off at the same time as the FA Cup final, I didn't know that myself. I mean, it's always a cup final that you enjoy watching, the Scottish Cup final, but when it's Rangers and Celtic, it just gives it that little bit more edge, doesn't it? It's a bit more special. I think regardless of who wins the league and who comes second, I don't think that has any bearing on the cup final whatsoever. I think it gives whoever finished second a lot more incentive to try and get some kind of silverware. And it obviously drives the team on that have won the league to prove that they are the best and get the double. There's something at stake for both, and it's a cup final. It's Rangers Celtic. That's the underlying thing. It's not a cup final. It's not who's winning the league. It's green and whites versus blue and whites, and it's Rangers Celtic, and that's a big enough game in itself without anything at stake.
You got to remember, Rangers are still on for the treble. You're talking about Celtic for the double as well, so Rangers probably from their side will be thinking, if we can win that league, there's a chance to complete the domestic treble as well. So yeah, still a lot at stake in that one, and there's still another Old Firm derby in the league, which will probably go a long way to deciding where the league ends up. Will it be at Celtic Park or will it be at Ibrox?
You've just watched a segment from Football Insider's brand new podcast, The Inside Track, with me, Lewis Pearce, alongside the guests on the show. Thanks very much for tuning in. Please do give the video a like, comment your thoughts on the topic, and feel free to share on your social media pages. If you want to listen to the full podcast episode, click the link in the description below. Keep your eyes peeled for plenty more content and exclusives here on The Inside Track.